Hey, good morning, or whatever whatever time of the day it is for you. Let's get right into it. This is an email that I received. I'm actually over on the forum, not an email, a message on the forum, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. I won't disclose the person's name because they sent it to me not as a public message, but as a private message. So I'll just go ahead and read it. Parts of it. The path of wildness seems to be an internal process of thought. It's regarding the path of wildness. It's a path of wildness is just an idea I play with. Started off. It's been building for a while, but it started off last year after a hike where I was, kind of intuitively coursing along through the woods, or through the deserted tea fields, and found my way here and there, and was, extolling and thinking out loud about what was guiding my footy steps. And so it says, the path of wildness seems to be an internal process of thought and action, free from the duties and constraints which are the norms of society and culture in quotation marks. Freedom from decisions made consciously or subconsciously for secondary or competing motives, or as a compromise. Resignation to atavism. Atavism is a term that I was unfamiliar with. I had to look it up after I read this message initially. And it's one I'm embarrassed that I don't know, because I should have. I have a background in biology, atavism being the reversion, either socially or biologically, biological systems, maybe genetic changes that revert back to a previous or primitive form. Socially, it could be activities, a society, retrograde motion, maybe perhaps. Retrograde, that's probably not the right one because that implies coming back. But societal changes, reverting like hippies, back to nature. I guess that would be a type of atavism, right? Seeking the land, things like that. Simplicity through those activities might be regarded as socially atavistic. Can you say that? Atavistic. So as a resignation to atavism, or atavistic thought, uncouples the individual from a degree of responsibility or accountability in that regard. Well, perhaps involving risk, there is no risk of making the wrong choice. That's interesting, no risk of making the wrong choice. When this is the framework, perhaps this is where the path of wildness begins or ends, or how it came to be. So it looks like there's kind of questions or statements, this is where I might be able to respond a little bit here. What I mean by that is I'm trying to formulate how to respond. And it's like when some people are able to, I mentioned this in a video response yesterday, some people, I'm a very simplistic thinker. I tend to have one nugget of an idea, and it's like I can hold it barely in my hands. And some other people are able to hold several ideas concurrently in their mind and vocalize them and kind of keep them all glued together. It's like a larger, it's almost like an organism of ideas. Not an orgasm of ideas. That's something altogether differently. An organism, and I'm not good at that. So when I get email from people, messages that seem to couple disparate ideas, or seeming the same idea but connected into a thread, I have a hard time with that. So, because my mind just can't get around that sometimes. But let's see. Is the path of wildness the opposite of goal setting? If not, what is? Okay, is the path of wildness the opposite of goal setting? It would. Goal setting doesn't seem to be involved with it. It really is although you can have a goal to climb a mountain. And the course of wildness would be in climbing that mountain would not involve necessarily laying out a necessary plan of action about where you're going to go or how you're going to get there, but simply arriving as I would probably do, because I typically climb mountains off of a trail. So if you're following a trail, then you have your way laid out, but I don't use trails typically, so I would get to the base of the mountain, I would look up, and my goal is the summit of the mountain, and I would choose a route that would be rather immediate and spontaneous in terms of using my instinct. And this is based on experience and assessing the mountain. I wouldn't climb K2 this way, but I would climb Mount Russo, the one in my backyard here, that way. I would look up and say, just kind of take in the picture and start the first inclination. Which route seems to be the left or right, up and down. Just following it along, coursing my way up. That's how I climb. So I have a goal, but the goal is the achievement of the goal is not tied to a particular course of action. It's free and open. Is the action of contemplating the path of wildness following the path of wildness? No. No. You can't. It's disconnected from that. If you're thinking about it, like if you're thinking, I'm gonna meditate and I'm gonna have no thoughts. I'm not gonna think. I'm just not gonna have. It kind of defeats the purpose. You're thinking about not thinking. It's got to be spontaneous. That's why alcohol helps sometimes. Isn't that a curious thing? But a little bit of a buzz, not too much. A little bit of a buzz sometimes, because it kind of disconnects from the process of actual thinking. I'm not recommending hiking drunk or pursuing life drunk. I'm just saying that sometimes that being a little less inhibited, a little less thoughtful, a little less contemplative of the aim helps to get on the path. What does the seeking of the path of wildness justify? Or to what extent is the seeking of the path of wildness justification for something? Remove the justification piece. What lies beneath? It's an adventure for me. It's feeling my heart go pitter patter. It's fun. It's frolic. It's laughter. It's joy. It's happiness. It's the froth, the topping, the icing of life. The path of wildness is what our earliest. I imagine go back 40. 60, 80, 120 generations, and I'm talking about men in particular, and my ancestors, it would have, I don't know how many, maybe 500 generations, would have embarked in the morning with the spears and out on the plain to go after the hunt, not necessarily knowing particularly where the animals are or how they're going to get them, but they would kind of use their instinct and their gut feeling and their experience to find their way through the mountains, across the plains, whatever it takes to find the animals, almost wordlessly going after the hunt. And I imagine that was probably a kick in the butt. Although it was, it was a tough time. It was the hunter-gatherer period was a rough time to be alive, and it was certainly not all fun and games, and hunting was not the same. But it's the same thing when I used to be a spear fisherman, and I would back off the boat and hit in the water, and spearfishing was a solo sport, and I would begin to course my way through the kelp beds off Southern California, hunting after calico bass, yellowtail, opali, whatever I could find, and they're usually never taking a shot because I couldn't bear to shoot them. But just the process, not going on the path, without particularly any. It really was. It was disconnected. I wasn't after the fish. The fish was just a token goal. I imagine fishermen are the same way, and anyone that does it. So for me, the justification is the act itself, the hunting, the adventure in itself. For me, it is adventure, because that's been the defining thing of my life. Adventure has always been the aim. Is the ability not to follow the path of wildness what makes us human? I would say that that's true. It's our big brains. We can think our way on. We can think our way off the path. It's what allowed us to make all of this. Basically being able to, get up every day and go do your work-a-day thing, follow, abide your responsibilities, recognize your responsibilities and abide them. Good morning, hi. Recognize your responsibilities and abide, I love saying that, third time, is what is off the path, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It is what gives us this wonderful thing, this society, this civilization that we have. I'm not saying that the path of wildness is necessarily a better place. It's just a heck of a lot more fun for me, at least. Is the path of wildness escapism? Yeah, it is in a way. It is. It is, and that's why I say you have to. And I'm making another blog, and I have made past things about this. I made a video sometime back called "Semaphores from the Edge." That was a couple of years back, talking about what can the danger. It is escapism, and it's dangerous escapism, because if you escape too far, you don't necessarily go to a bad place, but you go to a place of irrelevance to the rest of to your peers, society, and everyone else. You have to watch out for that. Does time exist on the path of wildness? Is the path of wildness a path, or is it the absence of a path? If the path is no path, then is it like the sound of silence, no sound or dependence? Let me read that again. Does time exist on the path of wildness? Is the path of wildness a path, or the absence of a path? Well, that's a hard one. I just can't get my mind around it. Okay, let's take it. Does time exist on the path? It does exist on the path, although it's not as important. You just feel it passing, probably almost the same way that a bear might feel the afternoon waning as it plucks berries, as it nibbles berries on a tree. And I found bear beds up in the mountains and trees full of berries nearby, and I imagine the bear sitting there eating them as the sun goes down. And it's just a reality that's happening as things go by. It's not, not a matter of so much of thinking about it as much as just noticing the time passing. Is the path of wildness a path, or is it the absence of a path? It is not a path, because it is and it isn't. It's a path that's formed. It's like footprints on the sand as you walk. If you're walking right next to the shore and the water's coming up, as you're walking along, there goes the train. As you walk along, you're creating footprints as you go along. The waves are coming up and sweeping those away, and they're fading away, and there is no path ahead of you because it's swept clean, and everything behind you is swept clean. It's a path within the last 2-3 steps that you've just taken, and that's about it. And it's defined by a rough general aim and purpose of where you're going. Then is it like the sound of silence? No sound dependent. Ooh, deep. No sound dependent. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I have to think about that. Is there a tangible benefit to following the path of wildness? Intangible. For me, it's quite tangible in terms of the effervescence of joy and happiness and the sense of satisfaction, fulfillment that I feel when I'm on the path. Now, I counter that with the reality that with the reality that I live. The fact that I'm walking to work right now, this ring on my finger. I am a married man. I have responsibilities. I take care of my family. I look after my daughter. I pay my taxes. I do things that I don't necessarily like to do. I guess sometimes for the sake of others. Sometimes I don't want to go to work. Sometimes I'd rather be off wandering around in the mountains. Sometimes I wouldn't. I'm cold right now. I would rather have my gloves on, but I want to make this video to talk to whoever might care to watch it. So I counter the path of wildness with the structures and the bountiful reality that I live in. And I use the word bountiful because it's indeed prosperous in giving me the things, the stuff, the security, the fulfillment, the health, and sometimes the satisfaction of a comfortable life as a part of the system, as a member of the hive, while taking moments sometimes to step off and forget myself for just a minute, forget the details, and wander for a while on the path of wildness, and then I come back a happy guy and smiling, and I can enjoy going to work with cold hands a little more before that, and feel that I actually satisfied something that lies deep within me, something perhaps atavistic, if I can use that word, something vestigial that has, for some reason or another, or maybe it has come back, or perhaps it never was, and it's simply deadened a bit by the application of 48 years of towing the line. And now I tow the line on terms that I give myself the opportunity once in a while to step off and go into wildness. That's it, friend. Thank you very much for your wonderful message. I appreciate it. It's been fun to contemplate these and share a little more. And you're helping me to flesh out this thing. Okay, now it's time for me to work. You guys have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye. Bullet train.